Your heart's racing, your mind's spinning with worst-case scenarios. That deadline's looming, your bank account's shrinking, and you can't shake the feeling that everything's falling apart. Sound familiar? Here's what most people don't realize about stress. You're not actually stressed about what's happening right now. You're stressed about stories your brain is telling you about the future. The ancient Stoics figured this out 2,000 years ago. They developed a 3-step mental framework that could neutralize stress in any situation. Today, I'm going to teach you their exact system, the control filter, the reframe challenge, and the present anchor. Each step builds on the last, and by the end, you'll have an unshakable mindset that turns chaos into clarity. Step 1. The control filter. Here's the brutal truth. Most of your stress comes from fighting battles you can't win. You're burning mental energy on things completely outside your influence, while ignoring the few things you actually control. This is where the control filter changes everything. The Stoics had a simple rule: divide every situation into 2 columns. Column 1, what you can control. Column 2, what you can't. The magic happens when you realize column 1 is always shorter than you think, and column 2 is always longer. Let me show you how this works with a real example. Imagine your boss just dumped a massive project on you with an impossible deadline. Your stressed brain immediately starts spinning. This is unfair. The timeline's ridiculous. What if I fail? What if I get fired? All of that energy is going to column 2 things you can't control. Now, apply the filter. What can't you control? The deadline, your boss's decision, company politics, whether other people think it's fair. What can you control? Your response, your work quality, how you prioritize tasks, whether you ask for help, how much sleep you get tonight. Here's what happens when you catch yourself slipping into victim mode. The moment you notice your brain spiraling about column 2 stuff, you redirect. That's not mine to control. What is mine? This isn't about being passive. It's about channeling your energy where it actually makes a difference. I learned this the hard way during a career crisis. I spent months stressed about industry changes, company layoffs, and market conditions. All column 2. When I finally applied the filter, I realized I was ignoring the obvious column 1 items: updating my skills, networking, improving my portfolio. The stress disappeared because I had a clear action plan. The mental shift is profound. Instead of feeling like life is happening to you, you start operating from a place of personal power. You're not trying to control the hurricane. You're building a stronger house. Most people resist this step because they think focusing on what they can control means accepting defeat everywhere else. It's the opposite. When you stop wasting energy on column 2, you become incredibly effective at column 1. You make better decisions, take better actions, and ironically, you often influence those uncontrollable situations anyway. The control filter alone eliminates about 70% of daily stress because it stops you from fighting reality. You're not pretending bad things aren't happening. You're just refusing to let them hijack your mental resources. Every time you apply this filter, you're training your brain to default to empowerment instead of helplessness. Practice this today. Take your biggest current stress and write it down now. Draw a line down the middle. Left side, what you can control. Right side, what you can't. Then ask yourself, where have I been spending most of my mental energy? The answer will probably surprise you. Step 2. The reframe challenge. Now that you've filtered what you can and can't control, your brain is still going to try sabotaging you. It's wired for survival, which means it treats every challenge like a life or death emergency. A difficult conversation becomes, they hate me. A financial setback becomes, I'll never recover. A career change becomes, I'm going to fail and end up homeless. This is where the reframe challenge saves you. Your brain is constantly telling you stories about what things mean, and most of those stories are designed to keep you small and safe. The reframe challenge exposes these stories for what they really are: just thoughts, not facts. Here's how it works. When you catch yourself in catastrophic thinking, ask 3 questions. First, what's the worst-case scenario I'm imagining? Get specific. Don't just say, everything will go wrong. What exactly are you picturing? Second, what evidence do I actually have that this will happen? Not fears, not possibilities. Actual evidence. Third, what's a more realistic story based on what I know? Let's apply this to money stress. Your thought might be, I'm terrible with money and I'll never be financially stable. Worst case scenario. You're imagining yourself broke and dependent on others forever. Evidence. Maybe you overspent this month or made some poor financial decisions. More realistic story. You're learning to manage money better. You've made mistakes, but you can adjust your habits, and financial skills improve with practice. The key is not pretending everything's perfect. That's toxic positivity, and it doesn't work. Real reframing acknowledges the challenge, while refusing to let your brain turn it into a catastrophe. When you're dealing with relationship conflict, instead of "this person hates me," and "the relationship is doomed," try "we're having a disagreement that we can work through with better communication." Career setbacks are perfect for reframing. Getting passed over for a promotion isn't "I'm not good enough and never will be." It's "this particular opportunity wasn't the right fit, and now I have information about what to improve or where else to look." No. Oh, the situation hasn't changed, but your relationship to it has completely shifted. Here's what most people miss about reframing. It's not about convincing yourself everything's fine. It's about breaking the habit of making everything worse than it actually is. Your brain has a negativity bias that served our ancestors well when they faced physical threats. But in modern life, it just creates unnecessary suffering. The compound effect of changing your internal narrative is massive. Every time you catch a catastrophic thought and reframe it realistically, you're rewiring your brain's default response. Instead of spiraling into worst-case scenarios, you start naturally looking for solutions and opportunities. Practice this with your current stresses. What story are you telling yourself about that difficult situation? What would you tell a friend facing the same challenge? Usually, we're much more rational and compassionate when we're advising others than when we're trapped in our own heads. Step 3. The present anchor. Here's something that will blow your mind. Stress doesn't actually exist in the present moment. Think about it. Right now, as you're watching this, are you in immediate physical danger? Probably not. Stress lives entirely in the future, worrying about what might happen, or the past, replaying what went wrong. The present anchor pulls your mind out of those stress zones and into the only moment where you actually have any power. When your thoughts are racing and your stress is spiking, you need a reliable way to get back to now. The 5-4-3-2-1 technique works in any situation. Name 5 things you can see around you, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. This isn't meditation. It's emergency grounding that hijacks your stress response and brings you back to reality. Your breath is even more powerful as an instant reset button. When stress hits, your breathing becomes shallow and fast, but you can reverse engineer calm by controlling your breath. Try this. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Breathe out for 6. The longer exhale activates your parasympathetic nervous system and tells your brain the emergency is over. The real magic happens when you build present moment awareness throughout your day, not just during crisis moments. Set random reminders on your phone to check in with yourself. Where is your mind right now? Are you actually here, or are you mentally rehearsing problems that haven't happened yet? This step makes the first 2 steps stick permanently, because presence is where your power lives. You can't apply the control filter when your mind is scattered across past regrets and future fears. You can't reframe your thoughts when you're not even aware you're thinking them. But when you're anchored in the present, you have access to all your mental tools. Most people think being present means sitting in meditation for hours. It doesn't. It means catching yourself when your mind drifts into stress territory and gently bringing it back to what's actually happening right now. The more you practice this, the less time you spend in those mental stress zones. These 3 steps work together as a complete system. The control filter stops you from wasting energy on things you can't change. The reframe challenge prevents your brain from turning every challenge into a catastrophe. The present anchor keeps you grounded in the only moment where you actually have power. Here's your challenge. Take your biggest current stress and run it through the control filter right now. What column does it really belong in? Once you start there, the other steps will follow naturally. Subscribe for more practical philosophy that actually works in real life.